Hey everybody, welcome to the September edition of the NeQter Monthly Town Halls. Today we are going to be focusing on update 2.19.3 and kind of diving into that one more time, as well as just going over some recent events that we've attended, some upcoming events that we have coming, and taking a look at the status of CMMC and just the overall space. Pat, I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to you so you can get started.
Hey everybody. Yeah, it's going to be a short and sweet webinar today, but we'll obviously field any questions that any of you may have, but wanted to just kind of rehash the 219.3 and also just talk about recent NIST and CMMC changes, and then also we've been traveling a bit. I think I caught a cold from that traveling, which might be coming across on here. And we actually have a really fun event coming up next week that I'm going to talk about. So just to kind of rehash 219.3. So we basically had 219.1 and then a couple subsequent quick updates to fix some things and tweak some things that we had released. One of the major things with 219, 219.1, and 2 and 3 is the vulnerability delta report that we created, where it's going to be just with the other reports that you can schedule or run on demand. And what it's going to do is it's going to dress up a couple different information points in an Excel that you can set up. That actually, I'll just pull it up right here. You're going to be able to break down and see new and unchanged and mitigated vulnerabilities, which is nice because from month to month or scan to scan, you'll be able to see by host, of course, but you're also going to be able to see just what's new, what stayed the same, and what was removed. So you can kind of have a bit of that provability of from scan to scan, something has been detected, date of detection, which of course gets tracked. You'll be able to showcase that it was in fact removed or mitigated from the last time that the scan was run. So that's a nice report that we added in. The Spurs scorecard is just kind of a tangible takeaway report that is reporting on what you're able to see within the NIST, within the NIST framework. If you have a NIST framework system security plan, which breaks down the Spurs score, but this is just a nice kind of breakdown. Goes at the family level, goes at the control level. When you're using the tool and you click on that Spurs score within NeQter, it does break it down where you can go further into the assessment objective. You can kind of kick those out. What this report will do is it is going to tell you just, out of how many objectives are met. So if you want to look at the nitty gritty, the tool is still going to be the best way to do that, to kind of expand out and see, which ones are met, not met. But this is more meant as a high level summary report of, hey, here's where your score is, but then also summarized by family. So you can kind of tackle and see which families you kind of doing the worst in or might need to improve on. So that's what this report is really nice for. So get that in your inbox, email it out, get that nice summarization there. One of the big things as well that we added, and this is kind of dovetailing into the next thing that I'm going to highlight. So CrowdStrike integration. So, with CrowdStrike, we're going to be able to pull from their Falcon SIM connector. Basically, what CrowdStrike has done is rather than, which you can, of course, access their full API, but there's so many moving pieces and information points that creates a lot of noise up there. What they've done is they provide their Falcon SIM connector. You spin up a small VM. And It is basically parsing down all the relevant logging information that you need, then spits it out via syslog, and that's how NeQter can ingest it. One of the previous integrations that we did as well, Prevail, the same form and function where they have that small SIM connector that exports syslog. So CrowdStrike got the same treatment as everything else. Syslog in, pushes to the discover area, has its own nice dashboard. So we're going to be able to see outcomes, severity levels, actions and categories, and of course, users and addresses. And because we have those addresses, we can also see on the map, on the world map, where things are occurring. So this does require, like I mentioned, that Falcon SIM connector VM self-hosted, and it's just another syslog input with that CrowdStrike integration. So additionally, we added in, so prior we had just had 514, kind of plain text basic syslog. Now we have support for secure syslog, so port 6514. So we'll be able to pull in both. It's going to be the same. It doesn't require a separate designation and settings. It's just going to be all under inputs, pulling in those different syslog. It's going to treat it the same. So we're going to be able to pull in different types of applications. We listed here, Sentinel-1 and Barracuda because we've gotten requests for that. We are currently working on the Sentinel-1 integration. Because we turned on secure syslog support, we're able to pull those logs in. But we need to actually, get some more interesting logs. We want to make sure that we have a full understanding of the log set so that we can properly parse. So we're currently doing that right now. And we should have that in the next update in the near future. So look forward to that in a future update. Right now, in terms of if there's anything that you want us to build out and have a new integration for, do all that kind of parsing for you, all we need is for you to send wherever that syslog is, send that to the others input, just so we can get the logs, into your NeQter, and then we'll work with you. If you could share those logs that you get in with us, then we can build out the parsing and the dashboard. So that's kind of the that's the process for getting that stuff pulled into here. And so after that, so that's kind of that that last update that we have. Of course, there have been some ecosystem updates, namely around NIST and CMMC. I'm sure a lot of you, or if not all of you, have seen this already. But there are some major shifts occurring with both the 32 CFR CMMC program rule update and then the 48 CFR. So, with the 32 CFR, that's been submitted to OIRA for final review. So we're kind of creeping up on when the publication window, because it's been about 90 to 120 days. So late this month or late next month, kind of within the next, 30, 60 days, we're going to be seeing this rule come out as published. And when that is published, it's going to, the rule's baked in. It has a 60-day kind of time delay for when, this rule will be in effect. 60 days from publication will kind of be the language or the effective date in that rule when it's published. So that kind of translates to a Christmas present. DoD always likes to give us nice, put a bow on it, make a nice Christmas gift. So what this is going to mean is the CMMC program is going to be go live. Certain people in the industry have been kind of referring to this as a market launch of CMMC, where certifications are going to be able to be gotten through a C3PAO. So you can get your assessment, you can get your cert, and then you can be CMMC certified. So the 48 CFR is going to be when the government can legally put the CMMC into contracts, require it as a contract requirement, and it's going to be upon award. It is required. That's what they settled on, not pre-bid, not post. At award time, it's going to be required. So basically, we're going to have a period of probably 6 to 9 months where DoD hasn't published the 48 yet. Estimation is, having this come out and be, the final rule, have that come out in, 2025 or so. So actually, I needed to update this it's because it was published. I read it. I was flying out to San Diego and highlighted it on the plane. So this was submitted, and the rule came out, but it's going to be final next year. So timelines have met the mark of what people have been kind of estimating. So CMMC is going to be live. You might have it where people ask you, "Hey, where's your cert?" I had a lot of conversation. Maybe I'll get into that in a bit. But people, looking to ask about, do you have CMMC, or what's your process, or have you scheduled your assessment? So that can all start to happen end of this year, going into early next year. And then the legal aspect, the government requiring it, is going to be sometime in summer. So for your contracts. So that's kind of what we've seen. We've already seen some of it, come true. The rollout is continuing. So that's kind of where we're at with that. I think everyone got caught up on this on this piece here. This was kind of in May, but of course, with NIST being separate from DoD, of course, they came out with Rev 3 of the 800-171, which, well, for those keeping score at home, in the DFAR 7012 clause at the time, it said, quote unquote, current version of NIST 800-171. DoD released a formal statement saying we're hard coding Rev 2 into 7012 for the time being, so you don't have to jump up and have to get Rev 3 right now. Rev 2 is great. Rev 2 is 1-to-1 right now with CMMC L2, so everyone is just all reading from the same sheet of music. So that was also a nice update that came out in May. So a lot of things are happening as we expected. A lot of things are hitting the timetable that DoD's been talking about the past year or so. The only wrench that could get added to the equation is the current rumors that the fabled FAR CUI rule might be making an appearance, starting to get movement in inner channels in the government. So that would be a massive thing for all federal contracts, not just DoD. If NIST 800-171 kind of comes out as a requirement for that. So that's we're trying to keep pace, let you guys know what's happening. Everyone on the call that I can see, I know is keeping pace with everything, but wanted to just highlight that again. So that's everything from the ecosystem standpoint. And recently had some travel, got to see some people. We made our way out to Navy Gold Coast, out in San Diego a couple weeks back, and it's always a fun show. During a lot of the speaker sessions, a lot of the topics were cyber related this year, and the attendance was kind of, everyone's been hearing the same thing. You guys have been hearing it. We've been hearing it. We're kind of sick of it. We're kind of just want the other shoe to drop at this point, just to see, okay, has all this effort been worth it? And same language coming out from Stacy Bostjanik from the DoD. Navy has been pretty forward in cyber. The only thing that's always interesting to hear about is how the Navy and other branches of the DoD, of course, but the Navy really wants, they think, well, we need our supply chain, we need capacity, we need new entrants into the supply chain to make sure we have the needs are met, the capacity is met, and they have all this money to hand out for small businesses, and but at the same time, there's so much burden for small businesses. CMMC is just one piece of the pie. There's so many other requirements. So it's always funny just to kind of hear the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing when it comes to some of the messaging. But we had a lot of good conversations at this show with a lot of people who are, in progress. Most people are in progress that we've talked to. A lot of people think they're in progress, but a couple questions in and you realize that they're a lot farther behind than they think they are. At the local show that we had down in Newport, Snydia Defense Innovation Days, we had quite a few conversations with primes who in their supply chain leads, who are very, very focused on making sure that they have the capacity that they need, their supply chain is getting in gear. Basically, they're not going to miss out on work or be able to deliver if their supply chain isn't up to snuff. So the conversation was, hey, how can we shore up our supply chain? Also, if there are any, compliant machine shops, manufacturers, other types of firms, send them our way. We want to add them if we're not working with them already, because, they understand that CMMC, once it's go live, it's at award. So that's really when that market go live happens come January, when 32 final comes out. We really see an opportunity for the primes to start to ask those questions. And, so we've seen people start to actually schedule assessments with C3PAOs prior to, hey, when this is live, we're getting our assessment, at this time, or we're this spot in the queue. So it's very interesting to see how this rollout is going to happen. So those are the two recent shows that we did, and I saw a few of you out there. And upcoming shows we have coming up: NDIA New England at Gillette Stadium, actually same day next week, Tuesday, September 10th. So we're going to be there. We're going to have a good presence there. A lot of good conversation about cybersecurity focused. The whole show is cybersecurity focused. So it's going to be about AI, government cybersecurity, cybersecurity for the DIB, general best practice cybersecurity. A lot of good, interesting topics from both people in industry and in government and from the military. NSA is going to be there. So there's a lot of good chatter that's going to happen next week. For anyone that is local and hasn't signed up or was planning to go, but might not want to foot the cost, we're actually able to bring some NeQter guests. We have that ability. So if you're interested in coming, please reach out to me if you'd like to go, and I'll tell you, how we can kind of get you a ticket. I'll just put my email in the chat here, but it's up on the screen. And also, we are going to be hosting an after party. You don't have to go to the event to go to the after party. If you're working all day and you're in the area and you want to show up, we're also going to be drinks and food at a Six String at Gillette. So I think I see a couple people who are local. So, if we haven't talked about it already, please reach out, and I might send you an email anyway, just to say hi. Yeah, so that's kind of what we've got pacing coming up. We have some other shows that we're going to be looking to do October, November. Need to finish up booking those, getting the travel and all that squared away. So we'll probably talk about that in subsequent webinars. But but yeah. So gonna look to open it up to questions as we look to round out this kind of short webinar today. But just wanted to rehash some things that we've done, rehash what's kind of going on in industry, and then also kind of end on what we've got coming up for shows. Just seeing if we have a question here. If you want to read that out, Nick. Yep. Let's see. Oh, so I see, Kevin, you're not going to be able to come. That's a shame. A little sad now. But Kevin just wanted to comment, as the CMFC ecosystem update, as it gets real here, if we're not able to limit our suppliers to level 1, we'll likely begin to phase out of DoD work as contracts require over the next 5-6 years. All of our suppliers at this point have told us they can't meet level 2 and have no plans to. We are insourcing as much as practical, but there are specialized processes. Yep. Yeah, we see, yeah, but just to kind of comment on that, we see that a lot too, where there's definitely going to be, it's definitely going to be interesting that the next couple of years where we see, DoD keeps pounding the drum of, we want a small business, we have these set asides, we want to give these awards out, please. SBIR, we have all this stuff for you, we have all these resources for you, but small business, either doesn't want to do it, or it's a lot of burden for ramp up of, well, if you don't have any work and you're trying to get into something, putting all that money up front isn't going to be, is it going to pan out? And we're seeing a lot of consolidation in the DIB of either companies buying up processing houses or specialized, smaller shops. Those smaller shops being very small operations, family owned, or where people are retiring and no one wants to take them over. So we see a lot of consolidation in terms of acquisition. We see people just sunsetting and moving out of the DoD type of work. There's a lot of companies looking at, well, how can I kind of pull out or alter? Okay, how can I make it so that this isn't CUI, or what can I provide to the downstream vendor? If I don't need to give them the whole drawing, can I give them a piece, and that piece, isn't CUI? How does that workflow look like? Or can I just give them commercially available information that they can do this process? But a lot of them are specialized processes, unless they're proprietary. If they're coming from the government, they are going to be. So it's yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see, because right now we kind of see it where it's kind of a game of chicken, so to speak, where DoD's like, we need this data to be secured, everyone needs to do this thing, and then the Defense Industrial Base saying, well, we know you need this work, so, and we can't either meet this, or we're a commercial house, and 10 to 20% of the stuff we do is DoD, so we'll just cut that out and do more commercial. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it pans out. NeQter ourselves, we have quite a few clients, so across the U.S., and we've had it where clients have reached out and said, hey, like three separate clients say, hey, they're all using NeQter. Hey, we just got acquired by Prime. And Prime wants to, consolidate the NeQter licenses, or move off of NeQter and what have. So we've seen it in our own client base, the consolidation. So yeah. See, Kevin, this is why you have to come. We got to talk about all this. But we'll have to meet up another time. But any questions as we wrap up? Kind of last few minutes about NeQter, about ecosystem, about anything that would be worthwhile to discuss. Kelly, we can absolutely, and if you mean from a webinar standpoint, we can absolutely do a joint webinar. Um, Absolutely, we can make that happen. I think we've been holding off just because there hasn't been any, updates past, 12, 18 months, but now things are starting to heat up. I think it definitely makes sense. So we can definitely arrange that. Yeah. You see anything else, Nick?
No, I'm not seeing anything. No questions, just some comments, which you've already seen, I think. So I think we're good to wrap things up here if you're ready. Oh,
Oh, hey.
Brian actually just had a question about Sentinel-1.
Yeah, so uh we're currently in the stages of working on it. I think what I had mentioned was we haven't gotten enough like a verbose enough log set that we're comfortable with releasing it without, parsing for all the different variables that we might see. So if actually
To comment on that as well, Pat,
sure.
we did get some logs from one of our clients, and we have recently acquired even more logs from another client to kind of round out the verboseness of what we had access to.
Okay.
Uh, so we're moving much farther along than that with the Sentinel-1 log data.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's news to me. So that's good. We're moving very rapidly. So that's good. Yeah, we were just you never want to have a half-baked integration, right? You want to make sure you're accounting for all variables. So that's good. So yeah, so it is in process. We should have more news in the coming weeks for that. Because once we have the log set, integration is pretty much a pretty quick turnaround, couple few weeks at most. So I think definitely by next webinar I'll have some good news on that next month, if not sooner. Yeah, and that's all thanks to that new secure syslog integration. Um, so yeah, so Brian, we can circle back around with you as and keep you updated as we know exactly where we are with that.